Hi everyone, welcome back to another TFT Masterclass. Today we are going to be doing a full hero augments guide and talking about exactly how to play each hero augment, why it's good, and how to net your top 4. I'm Upsetmax, this is another class by Fit Gamer, and make sure to join the Discord so you can check out these classes live, ask questions, and get bonus info at the end. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. So Hero Augments guide today, we have 5 different compositions that we'll be talking about. So we have our Kobuko Hero Augment, our Garen Hero Augment, our Midnight Syphon Yorick, Ethereal Blade Shen, and then last but not least, a new one that has recently surfaced, Pot Blossom Neeko. So we'll be talking about all 5, how to play them and why they're good. These comps are really good for helping you top 4, and you can even go higher if you play it effectively with a little bit of high roll. At the very end, we'll do a quick recap and then any Q&A for those who are in the live Discord channel. Alright, so before we even get started, here are the stats for the hero augments, and keep in note that these are the stats before the B patch, which dropped just a few hours ago, and the B patch nerfed some of the strongest comps, including Fated Syndra and Lillia. So these compositions are actually going to be even stronger because the best got nerfed. The only one that will take a little bit of a hit is Drop Blossom because it uses Lillia. So as you see here, like Lucky Paws doing extremely well, Story Champion extremely well, there's Shen, Yorick, and even the Neeko one is not doing too great on 2-1, but at least you see it on 3-2, it is quite high up. So very strong for top 4s, especially the 1-cost hero augments, and then the 2-cost hero augments that can even get you a little bit higher depending on your placements. And these are all the stats for Masters Plus, so you see that it's doing very well in high elo, and if you're in like mid elo and you know how to play it, then you're definitely going to go top 4 and hopefully get that first place. So enough with the stats, let's move on to the first one. So Kobuko Reroll, we've been playing this for a little bit while now, nothing too new. However, the end boards changed a little bit with the meta 4 costs. Lucky Paws, we get our 2-star Kobuko right away, and then your ability, your Money Dance, will deal 250% bonus damage, or at least 250% damage. Now here's the thing, when Kobuko kills a unit kills an enemy either through auto attacking, either through his ability, or even through items such as Sunfire or Spark. In this case we won't want to be building Sunfire, but Spark is good. You will get that 100% chance to drop 1 gold. So that's why Kobuko is good. With this augments, our tank items is going to be Declaw, Bramble, and Redemption. Because we are in a very heavy AP meta right now, even with the nerfs, I think it'll be a little bit more balanced. But if you see a lot of AP anglers, then we could cut out the Bramble and build a Spark instead. Other conditions to play, if you have a lot of early Kobukos or if you have early Bruisers and you're offered this augment, then it is definitely going to be a take for you. And then one last thing to note is Kobuko recently got a mana buff, so 1 less auto attack to cast, which is quite good for him. Remember that you get permanent health based off of your interests, so try to make as much money as possible to get extra health on your Kobuko so that he deals more damage, and it just works out extremely well. So that's the intro into the Lucky Paws Kobuko. This is going to be our early board where we are trying to get bruisers in ASAP, and then our backline here, we're not playing both, we're playing either depending on our backline items. So if we have AP items, then we can slam like Shojins, we can slam Morello and carry around like a Kindred. And if we have AD items, then we can slam that Last Whisper, that IE, or even Deathblade and play around the Senna. And then we'll be pivoting into these later. So if we're playing AP, we can pivot into Lillia. If we're playing AD, then we can pivot into Kaisa or Aurelia, depending on our spot. To get this 3-star Kobuko, we want to make sure we're not spending any gold into leveling before Kobuko 3, so we're just leveling naturally. This means by 3-1, so right after Krugs, we'll still be level 4. We'll have our highest % chance of seeing 1-cost units, and that is when we want to try to get our Kobuko 3 buy. So hopefully we natural a decent amount of Kobukos, hopefully around like 6. So on 3-1, we could send it. Hopefully we're around 50 gold, and we're level 4. We'll be able to net our Kobuko 3. And then start winning out and farming items or farming gold with the Lucky Paws gold mechanic. So this is how you want to be playing the early game Lucky Paws Kobuko, and once you are able to get your 3-star Kobuko, we should be in a good spot. Try to make 50 gold ASAP and then start pumping levels to try to get to level 8. This is what our AD final version is going to look like, where we have 4 bruisers. Before we get to even this level 9 board, we can play 6 bruisers on level 8. That's perfectly fine. But once we have better units to play, then we could drop out of the 6 bruisers, and then we could play better units such as like Dragon Lords or Altruists. We're going to be playing around Aurelia here. Aurelia will have our Duelist with our Lee Sin, and then we have some Dragon Lord. We have Heavenly as well, and 3 Altruists. Our other carries are going to be, our off carries are going to be Silas and Wukong, with Galio and Kobuko being our main tank. So pretty good board. Once you have enough money, you could pivot into this on level 9. But on level 8, you could just play around Kaisa, play 6 Bruisers and 2 Trick Shots. That is perfectly fine as well. And you will even be able to get 3 Storyweaver in with your second Trick Shot being Sivir. So this is what your AD final board is going to look like. Quite strong, and you will be playing this this version if you have AD items. If you have AP items, your board is going to be looking a little bit different, and this is going to be your level 8 board, where we will be playing around Lillia. We can technically also play around Syndra, but the Lillia traits work a little bit better. Here we want a Shojin, and then either an Archangels and a Rabadons, or a Rabadons and a Jewel Gauntlet. This is going to be our backline carry. Of course, the front line is still going to be Kobuko, Galio holding our main items, main tank items, and then Silas holding our AP off tank items. And then on level 9, we could drop the Kog'Maw and then play Azir and Hui. Honestly, it's more positioning like Azir and Hui over here. Put Umbrella on Hui, and we are good to go. So that is how we would cap out with our level 9 board. And then technically, eventually, we could drop out 2 Bruisers for even better board with better units, like 5 cost units like a Rakon or a Wukong. So that is what the AP final board will look like, but this is what most of the time you'll be playing, at least on level 8. Remember, your econ should be quite high when you are playing Lucky Paws, because every time this Kobuko gets a kill, you're guaranteed 1 gold. So you are able to farm a good amount of gold throughout the game, which means that your level 8 and your level 9 should come relatively easy compared to other boards and other games. So that is both the AD and the AP version of Kobuko Reroll, depending on what we have as our backline items. Some great augments we want. Well, of course, we are going to be needing Lucky Paws. This only comes on 2-1. There is no Lucky Paws Plus. Well fed, the Bruiser augment, being able to regen a lot of HP on our really tanky Bruisers, extremely good. Bruiser Crest and Bruiser Crown. We're able to play 8 Bruisers with this. Heavy hitters, of course, we are probably one of the heaviest hitters, so this augment works out very well. We're also a stall comp, so Ascension or Final Ascension works out great, and then adding resistances to multiply our effective HP is extremely good for this composition. So that's why Unified is good as well. So that is the entire Kobuko comp. Extremely strong right now. It's averaging a 3.9 in Masterclass, and it should technically be higher now that the top comps got nerfed. So give it a try, and hopefully try to get that free LP. Moving on to our other 1 cost carry. Now this is a new type of composition that has been coming out. It's still being experimented with, however the stats indicate that this comp is good. This is Storied Champion Garen Reroll. So it used to be a meme, but now with our Garen buffs and our Warden buffs, this composition is actually quite strong. So here are the conditions to play it. We will be needing Storied Champion on 2-1 for our Garen reroll, and Garen is going to be using Bruiser items. So this is like Steric, Titans, BT, and then similar to our previous explanation, if it's very AP heavy lobby, you could build a D-Claw as well. Other conditions to play is it helps if you have early copies of Garen. We already get our 2-star Garen by picking this augment, however having extra copies early is very good. And what the augment does, basically now the Garen's ability will grant max health, stacking max health every time you cast instead of a shield. So normally Garen shields, now it's no longer shielding. With this augment specifically, it's going to be max health and you will deal bonus physical damage as usual. One more catch, if you have more max health than your target, your ability will deal 50% bonus true damage. So this is why items such as Steric is really good. We want to be higher, 50% higher, or we want to be have more max health than your enemy target as you're casting, so then your ability deals that bonus true damage. So that's the intro into the Garen reroll composition. This is how we will be wanting to play it early. So similar to Kobuko, because we are a 1-cost unit, we do not want to be spending any gold before Garen 3 or by 3-1. Once again, 3-1 will be level 4 after Krux, and this is the tempo timing where we want to be having our 3-star 1-cost carry. Any backline items, we will be ending up playing some sort of AP Arcanist backlining in these comps. So items such as Shojin, Helm, Blue Buff, Jewel Gauntlet, Rabadons are great, and we could play that on an early Zoe, so then we have Storyweaver in. One last thing to note, because we are playing a backline AP carry and then frontline, yes, we can build an even shroud. However, we need a good amount of cloaks, or just we have a lot of like items that we want to prioritize on the Garen. We'll be going the green Talisman of Aid on Kale to help out our board with Shred and Sunder, as opposed to the attack speed or the AP for the 3 Storyweaver Kale. So this is a pretty solid early game Garen board. Once you hit the Garen 3, similar to Kobuko, you should be starting to win some rounds. And then this is our final board if we have the Storyweaver version. So Storyweaver version is if we hit a story +1. This is what our board is going to look like. We could play 7 Storyweaver, and then our tome and our scroll are going to be both blue. So I believe it's Scroll of Power and Tome of Force, perhaps. I don't exactly remember the names, but it's gonna be blue, and then we're gonna be carrying our Zoe, KL3, and our Relia, holding our healing reduction. In our front line, Gargoyle on Galio is always good because of his taunt, and then we could play units such as Diana, and then eventually ladder up for Wukong and Rawkon. And very good board, very strong. I've seen it go first in challengers lobbies, and definitely give it a try. So that's a Storyweaver version. If we don't have a Storyweaver +1, then we could play 4/4 and eventually 6 Warden for Arcanist, and we'll be playing around Syndra. Once you hit this, you can ladder up for more Wardens. Of course, you won't always have a set at this point. This will just be another Warden, like probably Nautilus on level 7, and then as you go up, then you can play a sets +1 extra Warden. Make sure once you have 3 Fated to link your Syndra and Ari, as we do in the Fated Dryad comp. And now we have a good amount of frontline damage and tank, and backline consistent damage as well. Okay, best in slot augments to go along with this composition. Of course, we will be needing Story Champion on 2/1. Storyweaver +1 allows us to play the 7 Storyweaver version quite easily. Spirit Guardians is very good now because of the Warden buffs, and then Heavy Hitters because we will be gaining a lot of max HP on the Garen, and he scales off of AP, and he also scales off of AD. Other augments, any generic combat augment is quite good at this composition. Martyr, Unified Resistance, even like Combat Caster is really good, or Gifts of the Fallen. So give it a try. Both of these 1-cost hero augments extremely strong and will able to net you your top 4 and hopefully higher if you're able to high roll a little bit. Now we get onto the more exciting stuff, our 2-cost hero augment reroll. So the first one is going to be Yorick Midnight Syphon, a little bit of a nerf, going from 25% max health damage to 20. However, in compensation, we get a Yorick mana buff going from 40/90 to 42/80. Conditions to play this composition, well, we need Midnight Syphon, or we need Midnight Syphon Plus on 3/2. Our best in slot on Yorick is going to be pure tank items, so this is going to be Declaw, Bramble, Redemption. Try to play this composition if you have early Yorks or Darius copies, so we can get our Umbral on ASAP, and we are going to be playing 6 Umbral, not 6 Behemoth. The way this augment works is basically your strongest Yorick will gain 25% max health, and his ability will deal 20% of his max health as bonus damage. So it's basically a stall comp, as the more times Yorick's casts, the stronger he gets, the more HP he gets, and because the more HP he gets, the more damage he will deal. So stall comp, the more times he casts, the stronger he becomes. This is going to be our early Yorick board, pretty standard. This is actually a mistake, sorry, this should be Kiana for at least Duelist. But pretty strong board. We have our Behemoth, Heavenly, Duelist, and Umbral. Just our regular setup, and we want to be putting our tank items onto Yorick. We want to be going level 6 on either 3/2 or 3/5 to stabilize, and then we want to be going level 7 slowly and slow roll for Yorick plus Alune 3. This composition is not that great slow rolling on level 6. We want to be going level 7, so then we could play a strong board such as this. We also want to be level 7, so we have at least a decent chance of hitting 4-cost units, especially Ornn, which is very necessary in this composition. This composition is best with the Umbral +1. The reason why is that way we could play 6 Umbral without set, and then in that case we would just drop the Kayn, play the Darius, and then Umbral some unit, not the Ornn. We'd probably just Umbral the Annie for now. Then with 6 Umbral, you're able to position freely. You have that large execute and that team-wide crazy shield that allows Yorick to stack up. We also want to be putting our healing reduction on Alune. So Alune's items is going to be Archangel, Shojin, or some mana item like Adaptive Helm is fine, and then either a red buff or a Morello depending on what item economy you have. So this is what your level 7 real board is going to look like. Yone is fake, even just keeping a Yone 1 is fine, but we definitely want to be getting that Yorick 3 and that Alune 3 ASAP. And then best in slot augments to play, and then this is also our final board without a +1. Looks pretty good. We want Midnight Syphon or Midnight Syphon Plus, of course, either Umbral Crest or Umbral Crown. That allows us to really spike on level 7 and play 6 Umbral. Wrath of the Moon also being able to just deal more damage as an Umbral unit is extremely good. And then we have a wide variety of combat augments, Martyr, Raid Boss because we are playing Behemoth, Unified Resistance, Combat Caster Ascension because we are a stall comp. Gifts from the Fallen, normally Yorick or Loon will be the last one standing, and they'll be just like unkillable and able to 1v9. There's also a case where we take Caretaker's Ally, we end up getting Yorick, and then the best case scenario is on 3-2, we hit Midnight Syphon Plus. Pardon me, I have a bit of a cold. But yes, so that is the augments for Yorick, and then this is going to be our final board without any +1s, and then that way we are able to go level 9 and just play another strong unit. Alright, so that is the Yorick composition. We're going to move on to the Shen composition now. So quite different are Ethereal Blades. Basically, we will gain a Shen, and now your strongest Shen has +3 range. So now he becomes a ranged unit, not a melee unit anymore, and his ability will deal 100% increased damage. So this turns Shen from like a frontline tank into like a backline DPS unit, which means our items, although may seem grief, is going to be Ginsu Rageblade ×2, and then either preferably a Bramble, but Giant Slayer and Gunblade is good as well. Conditions to play, we are going to be wanting to have Shen copies, and then we have our extra buffs to our Behemoth units. So we will be going from 5 to 8 seconds for our Behemoth buff duration. When a Behemoth dies, then the nearest Behemoth will gain bonus stats. And then also 6 Behemoth got buffed, and we will be playing 6 Behemoth in this composition, which is why Shen is doing quite well. The actual ability, when you cast, you'll reduce damage taken by you and adjacent units. Most of the time, Shen will be the last one alive, so the adjacent units don't really do anything in this comp. However, you will reduce damage taken for yourself, and your next 3 attacks will deal bonus true damage depending on how much armor you have, which is why Bramble is good in this composition. Okay, so this is what our early Shen board is going to look like, just playing vertical Behemoth. So unlike the Yorick board where we're playing 6 Umbral, in the Shen board we're going to be playing 6 Behemoth. So we want to be going level 6 on either 3-2 or 3-5, depending on how rich we are, and stabilizing, trying to get Shen 2 and then just a decent board. We want to slowly go level 7 and then slow roll for Shen plus Thresh. So similar to the Yorick board, we're not going to be slow rolling on level 6, even though that is when Shen has the highest % chance of showing up, because we want to be playing a stronger board with better odds, so we can formulate something like this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We want to be trying to slow roll for our Shen 3 and our Thresh 3. Thresh is a bonus. If we don't have the econ and we just need to hit Shen instead, then that's fine. Just hit the Shen and then ladder up. But we want to be playing 6 Behemoths. We want to try to have a Behemoth +1. That way we could drop like our Cho'Gath and then play like a Behemoth Silas, and then that way we also get Umbral and then Behemoth Silas goes crazy. Thresh 3 possible. If we don't, then that's fine. And then we want to be playing Morgana for 2 Ghostly, and Ghostly even got buffed, and then healing reduction on Morgana, either a red buff or Morello, and then some sort of mana item, either Shojin, blue buff, or Adaptive Helm. We want to put our secondary tank items on our Thresh, any mana items on Ornn, and what basically happens is we have a very strong front line that just stalls for our Shen stacks to come up, and then like a 3-star Shen or even a 2-star Shen with 6 Behemoth basically one-shots anything with his 3 auto attacks, and it's very hard for, it's very high amounts of single target damage, and you basically lose if your front line either dies really early or if the enemy has a lot of CC and your Shen is not able to attack. That's what the board looks like. And then best in slot augments, Ethereal Blades or Ethereal Blades Plus. We want to have either Behemoth, Crest, or Crown. Lets us drop a 1-cost unit and play a better unit. Raid Boss is extremely good because we're playing vertical Behemoth. And then we have, once again, our combat augments, Martyr, Unified, Combat, Ascension, Gifts from the Fallen. And the same thing as our Yorick potential scenario where we get Caretaker's Ally into a Shen. And then we end up getting Ethereal Blades Plus. The one thing for this, it's a little bit different because we most likely will not be making Rage Blades. However, if we do end up in the spot, then we will have a lot of Shens and be able to hit Shen 3 extremely easily. So that is the Shen board and how to play it. And then last but not least, we have our Neeko board. So Drop Blossom used to be a meme as well, but now is actually doing quite well. You will gain a Neeko from the regular version, so the 2-1 version. Now your strongest Neeko's ability will heal 35% more and slam for 35% increased damage. That's the first part. The second part is each cast you do increases the ability's radius by 1. So what this means, this is a stall comp. Neeko casting more and more will increase her ability's radius, and eventually you will be able to target the enemy backline. Conditions to play, you want you need Drop Blossom or Drop Blossom Plus. Your best in slot for this composition is going to be Gargoyle, Bloodthirster, and Archangel. Because Gargoyle, we want to be solo frontliner Neeko at least early. Bloodthirster should have additional healing plus that shield, and then Archangel because we are stalling as well. And then of course, any early Neeko or Mythic copies really incentivizes you to take this augment as well. So in the recent patch, there has been actually also a Mythic buff. So Mythic AD and AP was increased at all breakpoints, and also the Neeko specific spell healing was increased by 25, 50, and 50 again. And then the actual Neeko ability, what you do, you hop in the air. First off, you have DR, so you reduce damage taken by 30 or 35%, and then you heal HP, and then you slam down and deal damage. So pretty good unit in general. And then this is what your early game board is going to look like. We want a frontliner Neeko. We have our 3 items, Gargoyle, Archangel, and BT. And we want to be playing vertical Mythic with this composition, not vertical Arcanist. So you want to level to 6 on 3 to 3-5 and stabilize. The one thing that I believe is different with this composition is I think it's okay to slow roll on level 6 for Neeko 3 and then push levels. The reason why is there's no 3 cost that we want to be rolling for as well. Like Tom Crunch 3 doesn't do anything, and Lowry 3 doesn't do anything. And like technically Bard doesn't do that much either unless we have Wit's End or we have 2 Trick Shot, which I don't think we want to be playing. So it's fine to just stay level 6, hit that Neeko 3 ASAP, and then push levels to play 7 vertical Mythic, which looks like this. Because I believe carrying around Lillia and Hui is going to be a lot better than a Bard 3. Unless, of course, you have Wit's End, then I think it's fine to play around the Bard. Best with the Mythic +1. In that case, if you have Mythic +1, then you're able to drop the Alawi, play an Annie, drop another Mythic, let's say Cho'Gath, and then play like an Azir or a Loon backline, and then you are able to play that very strong 7/4, 7 Mythic 4 Invoker. Of course, this is only possible with a Mythic +1 or technically an Invoker +1. If you don't, then you can play this version perfectly fine, 7 Mythic, 2 Arcanist, Warden with Alawi and the Nautilus, and we are pretty good to go. Put your healing reduction on Hui with a mana item, and then Lillia is going to be our consistent backline AP carry with Shojin because we have 2 Invoker. So with 2 Invoker, you always want to be playing Shojin, Lillia. With 4 and 6, then you can play Adaptive or Blue Buff, but don't get those mixed up. And then either a Rabadon's and an Archangel or a Rabadon's and a JG. So that is what the final Neeko board will look like. And then last but not least, our augments are almost about the same. Drop Blossom, Mythic Crest or Crown is really good in this composition. Martyr, Unified. Magic Wand is good because we are a 100% AP or magic damage composition. Jewel Lotus, we don't want to be building Jewel Gauntlets on Neeko, but having her ability to crit is extremely good. So that's why Jewel Lotus is good. And then Combat Caster is just one of the best combat augments. As mentioned, we are stall comp as well. I think Gifts in the Fallen. If our Neeko is like the last one alive, eventually she'll hit the entire board and just one-shot it. And then we have our Archangel proccing as well. It's just very cool to watch. So that's why Gifts of the Fallen is good in this composition as well. So that is everything for today. I'll do a quick recap and then we'll head into a Q&A for those who are watching this live in the class. Today we talked about 5 different hero augments and why they're good. The 1 cost Kobuko reroll into either AD or AP backline. Our Storied champion Garen either into 7 Storyweaver or into Warden's Arcanist. We move on to our 2 costs, our vertical Umbral Yorick reroll. We have our vertical Behemoth Shen reroll, and then our vertical Mythic Neeko reroll. Apologies for the little typos, but that is it for today. So thank you so much for watching this on YouTube. We're now going to hop into the Q&A and make sure you join the Discord so you can participate in these Q&As and after sessions. Thank you and have a great night.